Hello, everyone, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Um, Welcome back. It's been a while. I apologize. It's time to get back into my ranking of every live action Disney remake. I've decided to go ahead and instead of doing the individual videos for each ranking, I decided to go ahead and these last 12 to just do them all in one video because I realized that while it's fun making these individual rankings, there's some videos which are obviously shorter than others because I don't have too much input about the movies I've seen. So I figured instead of making so many short videos, I'm just gonna go ahead and give my final top 12 of these rankings for these Disney remakes. So I figured, you know what, just go ahead and just get this out the way and go on to my next project. So with that being said, let's go ahead and finish off our ranking of every live action Disney remake. If you haven't seen any of the previous videos, I'll give you a quick rundown of what we've done before. We started off with an honorable mention going to the Jungle Book from 1994. Like I said in the video, that it was distributed by Disney, but it was technically not a Disney film. The whole time I thought I was, but it's really not, which is why you won't find it on Disney Plus. If it was, however, a an actual Disney movie, there's a very good chance it would have been number one because that movie is probably the most realistic of all these live action remakes. And it's like I said, it holds a special place for me because I remember seeing it when I was a kid. So yeah, number 19, Dead Last was Snow White because, like I said, I tried to go into that movie with a clear mind and not going off based off all the other negativity that had around it, and I was completely correct. That movie was just straight up horrible. It really was. If you haven't seen it, don't even waste your time. If you have seen it, I apologize for you. At 18 was Pinocchio, which was also considered to be, to me, it was between those two, which would be the exact worst. But I gave Pinocchio just a little edge because some of the visuals were a little bit better. It wasn't all that great. Um, there was so many plot holes, which I brought up about the original animated version as well. So yeah, if you check out the videos for that, if you will. At 17 was Peter Pan and Wendy, which I said felt a little bit too fast for me. Like I felt like it was over before you know it. I felt like they made Peter Pan like too much of a prick in that movie. Um, Jude Law was amazing as Captain Hook. That was that. At number 16 was Lady and the Tramp, a movie that I just like really wasn't too much into. It was kind of just there, and I don't know. It just didn't really do it for me. So yeah, number 15 was Dumbo, a movie made by one of my favorite directors, Tim Burton, and it's a very Tim Burton esque movie. You can tell right away. It's another one that is just it's not boring, but it was just like it was all right. You could tell it's like I said, you could tell it's a Tim Burton movie. Michael Keaton is great as a villain, but like I said, his I don't know if he was trying to doing it purposefully because of his character, or if he was just doing it just because. Like his accent is all over the place. It was just there. Number 14 was Mulan, as I said in my video for that. There were times where I felt like I was watching a Marvel movie because, like I said, I could be wrong. I've only seen the original cartoon version maybe once. I don't remember if Mulan had like superpowers. She could like walk and jump off walls or stuff like that. I don't know. And number 13, the last video that I did was 101 Dalmatians. It was Disney's first live action remake that they did, and it was very good for what it was. Probably as realistic as you could get about a movie about dogs. But as I said in the previous video, I felt like if they made the animals like actually talk and give them voices, it probably would have been a lot better. Then again, this movie does pretty much become Home Alone for dogs on the last third of the movie. So yeah, that was the recap of what I've talked about so far. So let's continue on, and I will give you numbers one. I was gonna wait to the top 10 and do this video, but I say no. Let me just go ahead. Let's just get this done, so we're not taking too long to get it over with. Because I don't have a constant schedule for these films. I usually post my wrestling videos on Sundays. and I don't have a set schedule for when I do these. So I figured, you know what? Instead of just wasting time, let's just go ahead and just get them all out the way in one hit. So yeah, with that being said, coming in at number 12 is The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, what the hell movie is that? And you probably want now if you do know your Disney animated films, there was a movie called Fantasia, which is actually, believe it or not, one of my favorite Disney films since I was a kid. I'm actually a fan of classical music like that that's featured in the movie. One of my favorite segments in that film is one with the dinosaur because I love dinosaurs. Another my favorite is the segment with Mickey Mouse as the Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is what the movie is based off of. Yes, I do love Disney. I love Mickey Mouse, and I think Sorcerer Mickey is probably my favorite version of Mickey Mouse. So yeah, as a matter of fact, ta-da! I bet you didn't think I could do that, did you? But if it wasn't obvious, Sorcerer Mickey is, of course, my favorite version of Mickey Mouse. If you ever been to Disney World, um, they have a show called Fantasmic where he shows up in his sorcerer get up and everything. So yeah. But anyway, so the Sorcerer's Apprentice, while technically it's not a live action remake of a movie, it's more of a live action remake of a segment of a movie. I decided to include it anyway because one, like I said, that's my favorite version of Mickey Mouse, and two, because well, this is my list, my ranking, my rules. So yeah, there's a couple other movies on here that probably fall into that category as well. Yeah. So anyway, The Sorcerer's Apprentice came out like 2011 ish. This movie is a very mid 2000s movie. You can tell just by like the music, the action and all that. It stars Nicolas Cage as the sorcerer. It also has Alfred Molina, who you may know as Dr. Octopus, who does a pretty good job as the villain. Jay Baruchel is in there as well. Like I said, it has that very 2010s vibe to it. Um, I said if you didn't know that this was a remake or based off of an actual Disney cartoon, you would probably just think there's just some random magical Disney movie about like wizards or something. Because, like I said, this is a very how do I say, it wasn't really out there to many Disney fans. Now they probably didn't even know that this was a movie or a thing. Um, so if you, like I said, if you didn't know what this movie was based off of, you wouldn't think it was based off a Disney movie. You would just think, like I said, a couple of sorcerers, magic going on, and special effects and whatnot. So yeah, but like I said, I watched it, included it because it had included this favorite version of Mickey Mouse. So obviously Mickey Mouse is not in the movie. They do, however, have a nice Easter egg reference to the segment of the Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia with the brooms and everything. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, that's probably one of the highlights of the movie. Like I said, it's not a bad movie. There are times, like I said, where it doesn't feel like I'm even watching a Disney movie because, like I said, if you didn't know what it was, you would not think it was a Disney movie remake. Um, so yeah, but I'm giving it at the spot where it's at now. So with that being said, let's go. Magic. Anyway, coming in at number 11 is Alice in Wonderland, another movie that was directed by my favorite director, Tim Burton. If there was a Disney movie that had to be directed by Tim Burton, I think this is probably the perfect movie for him to do. I mean, it's just you look at him and he probably just one of the movies like, oh yeah, this is definitely something Tim Burton could do. Side note, if they ever do a remake of The Wizard of Oz, I can honestly see Tim Burton doing his own dark gothic version of that. And I for one will be actually be pretty interested in seeing that. And I can guarantee he'll probably have Johnny Depp in that movie playing something. My guess is the Scarecrow. I can honestly guarantee you if Johnny Depp, I mean not Johnny Depp, Tim Burton did a remake of The Wizard of Oz, I can bet you my bottom dollar he would cast not only Johnny Depp, but he'll probably cast him as the Scarecrow, if not the Wizard. Yeah, it's anyway. So I remember when this movie came out, 2010. Um, really wasn't interested in seeing it, so this is like many of these movies. It's my first time seeing it completely. I had seen parts of it here and there, but this is my first time actually watching it. And while technically it is not actually a remake of the animated version, it's more or less a live action sequel. Because if you have seen this movie, you will know that Alice has already been to Wonderland, and the character is trying to remind her that she had been there before. And she eventually does, and they go on a whole like adventure to bring down the Jabberwocky, which of course is from the original Alice in Wonderland poem. It wasn't featured in the original animated cartoon, so they actually add a lot more in this film than they did in the cartoon. I say it's actually pretty good for what it was. It wasn't bad. Like I said, it was just there to me. And like I said, it was pretty decent. It wasn't bad at all. Coming in at number 10 is a movie that I thought would be very, very, very much lower. The Lion King. Where do I even start with this? Uh, if if you had to define a Disney movie with disappointing, I guarantee you The Lion King, to me anyway, would be the poster child for what disappointing is. Because first of all, the original animated Lion King is one of my favorite Disney movies, period. I love the movie. It was one of the first movies I ever seen in the theaters when I was a kid. As a matter of fact, I think it was the first movie I ever saw in the theaters when I was a kid. Um, I love it. It's always been one of my favorites. The music is good. The musical score is done by Hans Zimmer, who also did The Dark Knight. And listening to that musical score later on as an adult, like, oh, that sounds kind of familiar to the Dark Knight's score. So yeah, so I was actually really, really excited when they announced that they were going to be doing a live action remake of The Lion King. And some people say it's not really a remake because there's no people or whatever. It's more like a 3D reimagining, whatever you want to call it. I'm adding it here anyway. So yeah, like I said, when they announced the movie, I was so excited for it because The Jungle Book was directed by Jon Favreau, who also directed this movie as well. And I saw what he did with The Jungle Book, so I figured, okay, well he's gonna do a good job with The Lion King as well. And with the amazing cast it had on there, and then when I went to go see it at the movies on opening day, no less, I was so disappointed. This movie upset me. I was hoping and praying, okay, hopefully this movie does not disappoint me. And they make it is not as equal then better to the original. I was wrong, but I don't even know where to start. They got James Earl Jones back as Mufasa, but there was just something off, like about the dialogue in this movie. Like I felt like, how do I explain it? I felt like it was more like they were just reading off a script, if that makes sense. Like I could be here, we're doing line. He's reading from the phone. You know what I mean? Something like that. I don't know. It just felt the dialogue just felt off to me. Like it felt more like I was watching at times because of the dialogue, the way it came out. There was times where I felt like I was watching like a school play than an actual $1 million movie. Um, some of the actors did do good. Like for example, Billy Eichner as Timon is gay, and I have a very very serious question to ask. And this is I have nothing against people like that. Is Timon supposed to be gay? Because if you really think about it, both times he was in the live action and the cartoon, he was actually played by a gay actor. So that makes me wonder: is Timon supposed to be gay? Not that there's anything wrong with that, it was just a thought that came into my head when I first saw this the remake. I legit thought so. I wonder if Timon is actually supposed to be gay. If he is, hey, like I said, I got nothing against that. It's just a thought I had in my head. We had Billy Eichner, who's very hilarious. Did pretty good as Timon. I legit cracked up during the whole the Lion Sleeps Tonight part that I legit cracked up in the movie theater. But other than that, one of the biggest things I was disappointed with in this movie was what they did to Scar's song "Be Prepared." That's probably one of my favorite Disney songs. It's my favorite song from the movie, and I was so excited to hear it in live action on the big screen. And they butchered it. They completely made it different. Than it wasn't even a song. It was more like just speaking, pretty much. So yeah, I honestly thought this movie would be ranked a lot lower, but compared to the movies that I've talked about before this, actually pretty decent when you think about it. When I had seen it in the movies, like I said, I was disappointed. I watched it a couple more times at home to see if my opinion would change. It really did not. So, which is why I was very interested to see where exactly it would rank when I compare with the rest of these Disney remakes, and it's actually like right literally in the middle of the top 10. So I'm like, that surprised the hell out of me. So I mean, watching it with the rest of these movies kind of gives me a little bit different perspective of it. But for the most part, it's probably the worst of the best movies that I have on here, if that makes any sense. It's probably the best of the worst and the worst of the best. If that's what you, since it's like literally in the middle of my ranking, so I would go with that. The worst of the best of the worst. But yeah, like I said, I was disappointed with this. Like I said, I am surprised it wasn't ranked lower. But like I saw the movies I seen that before this, they were just like, eh. So it's like literally in the middle. Coming in at number nine is another movie which, while technically is not a remake of a cartoon, it's more of a reimagining. But like I said before, my ranking, my rules, so I'm applying it here. And plus, I'm also watched it and included because it includes one of my favorite actresses. The movie is the movie is Pete's Dragon, and like I said, it has one of my favorite actresses, Bryce Dallas Howard, in the lead role. So of course I had to watch it. I've never seen the original Pete's Dragon. If you know what it is, it's like a live action cartoon hybrid. It mixes both live action and cartoon. Very, very how can you say, pretty cool for the time that it came out. Like I said, what, in the 60s or 70s when it came out. Maybe I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was pretty groundbreaking for it at that time. And I included it here because, like I said, I like dinosaur movies, and while technically not a dinosaur, it's a dragon. I also like big giant creature movies, so that kind of fits in there too. And it was very interesting to see live action. It has that one of those rainy day kind of vibe movies. I don't know how to explain that. Like you watch the movie and like, oh, this is like one of them good rainy days type movies. Like it takes place where it feels like it rains all day or whatever. Um, Carl Urban, who's also an amazing actor, is great as I want to say outright villain, but more like a guy who's like so trying so hard to find his dragon. The dragon, of course, looks more. I was expecting it to be like to look more like an actual dragon. This one looks more like a giant flying dog with wings in a way. I mean, I was expecting something more like a dragon, like ferocious or mean looking, or But then again, like I said, it's a Disney movie, so you want to scare the kids too much, so they make the dragon look a little bit more family friendly, I guess you could say. But other than that, it's like I said, it wasn't a bad movie. If you're not a fan of some country backwood music or singing, this might not be the movie for you. But for the most part, it is pretty good. Especially ramps up a little bit at the end. So yeah, that was definitely a pretty good movie. Coming in at number eight is Beauty and the Beast. This is another movie that many people rank a lot higher. Um, people rank this a lot higher. The voice casting in this movie is actually really good. Ewan McGregor is great as Lumiere. Ian McKellen is great. It's pretty good. I like Emma Watson, but I think one of the things that kind of makes this movie a little bit lower is there was just something about her singing that just wasn't right. I felt kind of off when it came to her singing. Um, that and like I said, Gaston is one of my favorite Disney villains. Yeah, I think he was portrayed pretty well here. The whole thing with LaFool being gay, again, like I said, I had nothing wrong against that. Yes, people are expressing that a lot more in movies, and as I mentioned before, I forgot what movie it was. Um, but it's okay to have like these gay characters in there. Like I said, nothing wrong with that. But I think a lot of people get upset because they're like, they kind of like force you to, okay, this guy, you're like, here. They keep showing you signs that, yeah, this guy is gay, this character is gay, whatever the case is. Okay, let it be known, but I mean, some people don't be like, okay, like, we get the point, he's gay, they don't have to like keep forcing like every single time this person is on the screen. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I had nothing against that. There's just some people who prefer just be like, okay, quick nod to, okay, yeah, he's gay. Okay, fine, let's move on. Not every single say, by the way, he's gay. By the way, he's gay. By the way, he's gay. I mean, it's like I said, some people aren't too happy, don't are happy or fine with that. Like I said, I have nothing against that, like I said before, but sometimes it's best just just let it be said once and then move on instead of just shoving it in our face. Um, you know, like I said, okay, we get the idea. Okay, we get it. Um, I think that and the whole thing with Belle singing, which I felt was kind of off, kind of lowers it down a little bit for me. Like I said, it's not a bad movie. It was pretty good. It's just those two things that, like I said, just didn't do it for me. Um, and number seven is Aladdin, which is probably one of the most movies that probably would have been great for being real, a live action remake. And again, this is another movie that's one of my favorites. The original animated version was one of my favorites as a kid growing up. I have the original on VHS. Um, and this is actually a pretty decent movie. I know a lot of people were saying that okay, Will Smith will never hold a candle to Robin Williams' character of the genie. And yes, Robin Williams has always been one of my favorite actors. Bless him, rest in peace. So I was kind of seeing, okay, well, how can Will Smith hold up to Robin Williams? And while he doesn't do a great of a job as Robin Williams, he does still do a pretty decent job, you know, for his role as the genie. Um, Naomi Scott is another of my favorites who actually does pretty good as Jasmine. Um, this movie is actually really, really good, except for one thing. I think Jafar was probably one of the weakest, at least in this version. I think he was like probably one of the lamest. He wasn't really that good of a villain in this movie. Like he didn't feel intimidating, or he just didn't. I don't know. It wasn't that great of a villain to me anyway. Like I felt like I don't know how to say it. Like it could have been better. Jafar is one of Disney's most iconic villains, and I just really feel like his portrayal here was just like completely the opposite. And so yeah, that comes in. Coming in at number six is probably their most recent live action remake they did, and it's also my favorite Disney movie. It's Lilo and Stitch. Of course, I saw that movie in theaters when it came out last year. It's another movie, like I said, I was really, really hoping that they did not disappoint like they did with The Lion King.
Ranking movies, I see.
Yes.
I'm being nosy.
Hi.
Which one are you on?
Number six.
Oh,
Like I said, when I first saw the movie, I was like, okay, hopefully it's not as disappointing as how The Lion King was because that is my favorite Disney movie, Lilo and Stitch. So, and going in and watching this, actually was kind of nervous. Okay, please don't butcher it. Please don't make it bad. And actually, it was actually pretty decent for what it was. It was actually pretty good. Um, we actually saw that in the movies when it came out. Um, I said it was really good for what it was. It was. I was hoping it would be bad. It wasn't. It was good. I think I was the most disappointed that they did not have Gantu in this movie. I was most excited to see Gantu in this film because, as you know, he's been the villain of Lilo and Stitch the whole time. And when they said
it's the villain.
Gantu, the big giant guy,
He was the villain?
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, and I was looking for. He's like my second favorite character from the series after Stitch. I was like, I can't wait to see Gantu in live action. He was not in the movie, which I was so disappointed. Instead, they made Jumba the villain, which, if you've seen the original animated version, yes, he starts off as the villain pretty much because he's the guy that created Stitch. He's like the mad scientist. He gets, of course, a redemption at the end, but they kind of switched it up here in the live action one. They pretty much just straight outward made him the villain, and then which was a lot of people were upset about that. And I think one of the biggest complaints people have with this movie, and I can totally agree, is how the movie ended, where Nani pretty much gives up Lilo. I mean, the whole point of this movie is Ohana, which of course is family. That was the whole point of the original movie is family. Family sticks together. Family doesn't get left behind or forgotten.
And it doesn't betray you.
That's true. And then in this movie, pretty much everyone was upset because Nani pretty much gave up Lilo at the end of the movie, which was everyone was like, "What the hell? That beats the whole purpose of the original movie." So I can kind of see where they're upset with that. And like I said, I think, but personally, my biggest complaint was that there was no Captain Gantu in this movie, and I was so upset, and I can understand why because they probably didn't want to spend all that money on another CGI character because they got stitched throughout the whole movie. But come on, you're Disney, you own literally everything. I'm pretty sure you could have spared a couple $1 million to bring this character to the screen, but they did announce they are going to do a part two. So hopefully, Captain Gantu is back in there. Also, as much as I like Zach Galifianakis as an actor.
English.
Yeah, as much as I like Zach Galifianakis, oh my God, Zach Galifianakis as an actor, I feel he was probably not the best person to play Jumbo because, as you know, Jumbo had that Russian accent in the cartoon. He was a Russian bad guy. He didn't have that here. He just came off like more of a immature, spoiled teenager in a way, kind of. But like I said, I love Zach. He's a good actor. I love him in The Hangover. But I don't think he was probably the right person for Jumbo. The other guy, I forgot what the hell his name is. That guy that plays Pleakley. He's a pretty good actor. He did pretty good as Pleakley, though they didn't show them too much in their alien form, of course, for money reasons. They don't want to spend all the money on that. But yeah, hopefully that changes with the second one. So coming in at number five was The Little Mermaid. Again, this is one of the movies that people were right away complaining because they decided to change the race of the main character. I mean, like I said,
But if you
okay.
think of the actual, um, the Little Mermaid, the actual version of Little Mermaid, she dies in the end.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of. If you go back and actually read the actual stories that a lot of these movies are based on, if you read the actual original
It's very
stories,
gruesome.
yeah, a lot of movies are gruesome, especially Cinderella. Snow White, the
Uh,
original. If you read the actual stories, it'd be like, holy shit.
mhm.
Because I think if I'm not mistaken, in the original Snow White story, I think they punished the queen by like making her walk like
They
barefooted or
made her
something.
dance
Yeah, they made her
with
dance.
red hot shoes
Yeah.
till she died.
hmm So yeah, you didn't see that in the Disney movie, and the same thing with the original version of Cinderella,
She
where like, the
died.
step sisters are trying. They actually cut their feet off to try and fit into the suit, something like that. There, a lot of this. They don't even get me started on Pocahontas because we all know what the hell happened there.
They'll never say her real name,
Yeah.
and she was a child.
Yes, in case you did not know, the real life post
She
story is
was
based on
like
it's like
12 years
10,
old.
12 years old. So obviously they're not going to mention that, and I highly doubt they're going to do a live action version of that. I highly doubt they will. But going back to number five, The Little Mermaid. Like I said, a lot of people right away, why are they changing the race? Why are they doing this? Okay? Now let me think about this. Well, let's go back a couple years to 2000 and was it six, seven, when they announced that Heath Ledger was going to hi,
It's my
my
daughter.
princess. When they announced that Heath Ledger was going to play the Joker, everyone's first thought was why? That's the gay guy that played a gay cowboy in Brokeback Mountain. Everyone was complaining and complaining. And then when the movie came out, everyone agreed on one thing that the Joker was the best. I can say too, the Joker was the best part of the
He
Dark
played a
Knight.
good
He
Joker.
played it amazingly. He won the award, even though he had passed on away. And people ate their comments right up because they were right away complaining. Same thing with this. Like I was like, okay, they're changing the race of the main character. Okay, let's see how it goes. Give it a chance.
But that's the thing with acting. It doesn't matter your race. It's how good you are.
Exactly. And I think Halle Berry, I don't know how to say her name. She actually did pretty amazing. She has an amazing singing voice. Like I said, I've never really known too much of her work or any of her music, but she did have a pretty good singing voice in this movie. One thing that It's funny, the actress that plays Ursula, Melissa McCarthy. Surprisingly, I've never really been a fan of hers. I've never really cared too much for her. And surprisingly, I felt like she was probably one of the best things of this movie. She plays Ursula pretty well, pretty good, and she's pretty, funny and everything. And I said, I think that she did that pretty well. I think she's probably one of the best parts of the movie. Um, I wasn't too a little bit on the fence about the whole Scuttle thing. His little when I first saw his little song on the movie, I was like, okay, it wasn't that bad. But then rewatching it again, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of annoying. So, but yeah. But other than that, it was actually a really good movie for what it was. One thing I that kind of threw me off was when Eric does his solo song. I don't know. That song was it was like I don't know. It was purposely making it seem off, but it was just like yeah, that's probably like the weakest
Eric,
song.
Eric to me, if I think about the original story, he's kind of a ditz.
Mm,
He seems very ditzy. He comes off as very like doesn't know anything because he's always been sort of semi protected. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
He's very, very, very like airheaded, very ditzy.
Yeah. No, I mean that's I think his song was like probably the worst of the bunch. So, but yeah. Coming in at number four was Cinderella. I actually didn't expect the movie to be ranked high because I had never seen the live action version of this. And it's actually pretty good. Kate Blanchett is great as the evil stepmother. She is well, she may not be one of my favorites, but she does a really good job as the evil stepmother because she makes you hate her. She makes you dislike her because the way her portrayal is so good. I bet you know what the hell I'm talking about. Her portrayal is
Hmm.
so good as the evil stepmother that you actually feel legit sorry for Cinderella in this story. Lily James does a great job as Cinderella. And there was a point where she almost made me cry when I was watching the movie because when she was acting, the one thing she asked her stepmother was why? Why are you like this towards me?
Why are you
Why
doing
are
this?
you
Pretty
toward?
much.
And then I said she does such an amazing job as the stepmother. She actually makes you legit hate her. Like I hope this bitch gets her. Come up with him. That's how good she was. She did really well, and that's how a villain should be played. But they make you want to root against them. Compare her to Jafar in Aladdin, which was like probably one of the weakest villains that I've seen in this live action remake. It was not good. But she does an amazing job as the evil stepmother. So she made me legit like want to go in the thing and just like leave her alone. Stop messing with Cinderella so damn much. Of course, it's not as fantastical as the animated version where I got the mice talking and singing and making dresses and whatnot. But it is good for what it is. And like I said, I'm very surprised that it ranked this high because I watched these in chronological order, and for the most part, I had it at number one until a couple more movies came in after it. So yeah, that surprised the hell out of me. Of course, that's like not even close to being one of my favorite Disney movies, but when it comes to live action, it was actually really really good. Coming in at number three is Christopher Robin, which of course is based off Winnie the Pooh. While it's not exactly based off any certain Winnie the Pooh cartoon, it is just based off the Winnie the Pooh series. And it has Obi-Wan Kenobi in there. The guy that plays Obi-Wan,
We
who she
shared a
shares a birthday
birthday with
with,
him.
Ewan McGregor. This is I think, his second time appearing on this list. He does great as Christopher Robin. This movie, actually, again, another one that I had only seen parts of. This is my first time watching it completely through. This movie is actually a lot more funnier than I thought it would be. Um,
He's
he
funny.
is.
He's
He's
really
good. Yeah, he
funny.
is. Is especially he plays a straight man trying to be serious, and you got Winnie the Pooh and all his friends coming into, I guess, the real world, and it's actually really good. And Winnie the Pooh had me cracking up several times because he has no idea what the hell is going on in the real world. But it
I
was
don't
actually
think anybody does, anyways.
no, they don't. But yeah, this movie it was actually a lot funnier than I thought it would be. I think Brad Garrett is the perfect voice for Eeyore because if you know who that is, if you know who Brad Garrett is, you know him for that deep voice that talks like Eeyore. He was perfect for that. Perfect voice. Yeah, it was really, really good. I liked it a lot. And like I said, it was a lot funnier than I thought it would be. Coming in at number two is Cruella. And again, while technically not a remake, is more of a live action prequel. And plus, it has Emma Stone, so I'm gonna include this anyway.
You like Emma Stone.
I do. This movie was freaking great. It really was. She is fantastic as Cruella. I also love the music in this movie. There's a lot of 70s, 80s European rock, like the Rolling Stones. I forgot what, but there's like the Who. There's like a lot of British rock in this movie. It has a really, really, really good soundtrack, and I'm actually a pretty good fan. I like prequels because I like to see how certain things get set up or how certain characters become the person who they are. And this is actually a really, really, really good movie. Um, Emma Stone does amazing as well. And again, there's another, I forgot what her name is, the lady that plays the villain. I
The
forgot.
Baroness.
Yeah, there you go. I forgot what the lady. I forgot the actress's name, but she's another one who actually does. So I'm guessing you've seen that movie too, huh?
Yes.
She's another one that actually does a very. I cannot remember her fucking name. She's another
She's
one
a good
that.
actress,
Yeah,
though.
she's another one that makes you think. Okay, she makes you root against the villain. You want to see her get what's coming to her, and eventually she does. I won't spoil it too much if you haven't seen it, but yeah, and
She
then
makes you hate her
yeah.
guts.
And then when you find out what the plot twist is, and like, oh, it makes you want to hate it even more. And then it's very good to see how Cruella goes from the young outcast to anti-hero
To
to the
owning
yeah
the shit, yeah.
to becoming the Cruella that we know from the 101 Dalmatians. It's a very good progress for her. Like I said, Emma Stone is wonderful in it. But I think legit my favorite thing out of this is the whole soundtrack of this movie. There's so much good music in here. Um, so yeah, again, like I said, while it's not actually a live action remake, again, my ranking, my rules. So there you go. It's like the third movie in this list that has to do with that. So coming in at number one, my personal favorite for ranking for Disney live action remakes is The Jungle Book. Another of my favorites from when I was a kid. The remake anime version was amazing. It was really good. It's legit, kind of like it's probably one of the most realistic they can get when it comes to talking animals, but it's good. The little boy reminded me of my nephew when he was little on the movie. Um, all the voice actors do amazingly well, especially Idris Elba as Shere Khan. That is what I feel Scar in the Lion King remake should have been, similar to that, like menacing and like evil, and but he did amazing. And all the voice actors were amazing, especially Christopher Walken, who was a very, very great actor. You can the way he portrays characters and bring it to the movie as King Louis. That was probably one of the best parts of the whole thing. So yeah, that's my pick for what my favorite live action Disney remake was. It was actually quite a blast watching these. Like I said, some of them I had not really seen the whole thing of. Some of these I probably should have went and watched the original version first because some of these original versions I had never seen. Like I said, Mulan I've only seen once, and that was a long, long time ago.
It's kind of like watching the movie before reading the book.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never seen the full thing of Lady and the Tramp. I've never seen the full thing of uh think Dumbo I never seen the complete movie of, but yeah, but for the most part. But yeah, those are my rankings for every live action Disney remake. I'm not too sure what the next one coming out is. I know they're doing Tangled right now. Oh, then you got Moana coming out. Which personally, I don't see why the hell they're doing a remake. The movie just came out like 5 years ago, so they're already doing a remake of it.
They need new ideas.
Yeah. Um,
That's what they need.
yeah, so I think that's the next one that's coming out, and then they got Tangled coming out too, and then Lilo and Stitch too, which I hope is a lot better than the last one.
I remember watching Tangled when I was younger
I've never
because I was babysitting some kid.
I've never seen the whole thing completely. I've seen like parts of
I haven't either.
it. So yeah, those are my rankings for every live action Disney remake. I figured instead of doing all these individual videos, let me just go ahead and get them out the way and get it done so I can go and start on my next project. So what are your thoughts? What are some of your favorite Disney remake versions? Do you have any that you've seen favorite?
I mean, I don't really have a favorite per se. It's been a while since I've watched any Disney movie. Like I don't. When we watch a movie every now and again, that's like the only time I'll ever turn on the TV
Mhm.
or sit down and watch it. It's really rare.
Yeah. Plus, one thing we do plan on doing together is doing a Batman binge. We do want to watch every live action Batman movie and then do a ranking our own personal rankings of what we think from worst to best.
How to distract me. Put on Batman.
There you go. So that's one of our things we actually plan on doing together, watching every Batman live action movie and then ranking them and see how our rankings compare to each other.
I would be way too easy to kidnap. Put on Batman, have like cookies and cats.
Don't get no ideas.
Don't get no ideas though.
So yeah, there are my rankings for live action Disney remakes. What are your thoughts? What did you think of my rankings? What are your favorites? What are your worst? What do you consider the best? Maybe your thoughts are different than mine. Of course, these are my opinions. So yeah. Until next time, thank you. I will see you next time. Happy Mother's Day to you all. And if you haven't asked me about it, chances are I'm going to talk about it anyway. Thank you.